let's start with a question that sounds almost too simple. Are you really you? We're about to dive into the mind of a philosopher who saw how society molds us in ways we don't even realize. So picture this. You're walking down the street, totally in your own world. Then all of a sudden, you hear a voice behind you shout, "Hey, you there." And what do? Almost without thinking, you turn around. But why? Why do we do that? Well, in that tiny automatic reaction, the French philosopher Louis Althusser saw something huge, a powerful secret about how society works on every single one of us. That simple turn is the key. All right, so let's break that moment down. Althusser had a special term for this whole process of being called out and really being turned into someone. He called it becoming a subject. Now, the official name for this is interpolation. It sounds kind of complex, I know, but it's just that moment of being hailed. It's the act that takes some random person walking down the street and in an instant gives them a role, an identity. It pulls you out of the crowd. So let's walk through it again. You've got an individual, just anybody. Then comes the call, maybe from a police officer, right? A figure of authority. And here's the crucial part, the turn. When you turn around, you're not just moving your head. You are recognizing that the call was meant for you. And in that one physical motion, Althusser says, you've just accepted a role. You've become a subject. But here's the real twist. Althusser says this whole hailing thing doesn't just happen on the street. Nope, it's been happening since before you were even born. Just think about it. Before a baby is even here, it's already expected. It's got a family name, a place waiting for it at the table. People have hopes and dreams for it. So in that sense, we are always already subjects, born into a world that has a script waiting for us. So if interpolation is the spark that starts it all, what's the engine that keeps this whole thing running? Well, for Althusser, that engine is ideology. And trust me, his idea of what that is, it's probably not what you think. We tend to think of ideology as just a bunch of false ideas, right? Like propaganda. But Althusser says, no, that's missing the point entirely. For him, ideology isn't the ideas themselves. It's the story we tell ourselves, the imaginary relationship we have with our real, actual lives. It's not about fake reality. It's about our skewed relationship to reality. And this stuff isn't just floating around in our heads like a dream. Althusser's other huge point is that ideology is physical. It's real. It exists out there in the world. He said ideology lives in what he called ideological state apparatuses. That is a mouthful, I know, but it's just a fancy term for the institutions that shape us every day. Think about it. Families teach us how to behave. Schools teach us the rules. Churches give us values. The media shows us what a good life looks like. Ideology is in the actual buildings, the lesson plans, the TV shows, the family dinners. To explain this, Althusser used this brilliant line from another philosopher, Pascal. We usually think that first you believe something and then you act on it. Pascal and Althusser, they flip that completely. They say no, do the action first. Go through the physical motions of kneeling and praying, and the internal feeling, the belief, will follow. The things we do create the things we think. Okay, so if we're all living inside these ideological machines, what does that actually mean for us as individuals? Well, this gets us to the really clever and honestly kind of sinister double meaning of that word subject. Just think about the word subject. On the one hand, it means a free person, right? The subject of a sentence, the person doing the action. You are the subject of your own life story. But on the other hand, it means being subject to the law or subject to a king. It means you're under someone else's control. Althusser points out that ideology is playing on both of those meanings at the exact same time. He uses Christian ideology as this perfect example. In that system, you have one big absolute subject with a capital S, and that's God. This ultimate subject then hails or calls out to all the individuals, and that's what makes them subjects with a little s. It's like we see ourselves reflected in God's eyes, and in that moment of being seen, our own identity is created. And here is the genius of the whole system. We are called out as free individuals, and we're given the choice to answer. And because it feels good to be recognized, to be seen, we freely choose to accept our own submission. We feel the most like ourselves in the very moment that we are falling in line with the system. We work, as he says, all by ourselves. So, okay, why does any of this matter? What is the whole point of this giant, complicated ideological machine? What's the end game? For Althusser, who was coming from a Marxist perspective, the goal was actually really simple. This whole system exists for one reason: to keep the current social and economic structure going. It's about reproducing the relations of production, which basically means making sure the class system stays the same, generation after generation. It teaches all of us our proper roles and gets us to step into them willingly, so the system can keep running smoothly without needing cops on every corner. So let's just quickly tie this all together. The big thing to take away from Althusser is this: ideology isn't just some bad ideas floating around. It's a real, physical system of practices and institutions that calls us into our roles from day one. And by answering that call, we feel free. And in that feeling of freedom, we willingly accept our place, which is the ultimate magic trick that keeps the whole social machine running. Which leaves us with one final and pretty unsettling question. If Althusser is right and ideology isn't something we can just step out of, if it's the very air we breathe and the water we swim in, how would we ever know we're inside it at all?